Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Chef Yusuf Show, where we learn to cook the Islamic way. This is our second episode of the Ramadan special series that we're doing about soup. We mentioned that soup was the favorite meal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and back in Arabia, in the time of the Prophet, it used to be called al-thareed, which is technically flavored liquid with crushed bread on top. Today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about how to make consomme, and also to finish our stock and to put everything together, we'll talk about vegetarian or vegetable stock. So let's go ahead, inshallah, and get started and not delay. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up the topic of stock. We're going to refer back to this episode in the future, so this is very important, and I wanted to take my time to really explain everything of making the perfect stock. Of course, we talked about white stock being from fish or from chicken bones, brown stock from veal, lamb, or goat, or the cow bones, the big bones. You caramelize them, you roast them, and then this is how we get the brown color. Vegetable stock is really a shortcut because chicken stock will take 3 hours, veal will take 6 hours. This will take from 45 minutes to 1 hour, or maybe 30 minutes. Technically, it's really simple. There is not really a lot of rules. Technically, you do have to put vegetables, of course, and we talked about Mirepoix being carrots, celery, and onion. On top of that, we'll add some mushrooms. The mushrooms are the key, in my opinion, because it gives it that unique stock flavor, the earthy flavor. Some acid from the tomato, and we mentioned the rules of making simple stock. Make the herbs and spices to a minimum. So we have 2 garlic cloves, 10 or 7 peppercorns, the black pepper, the whole pepper. We have some cilantro, we have some bay leaves, we have some oregano, we have some sage. So we'll go ahead and chop everything. Put them with cold water. Of course, we want to add cold water. When you put cold water, you make sure that you can extract the flavors as much as you can from the vegetables. You don't want to boil it too much, because when you overcook the vegetables, it tends to lose their beautiful taste. One rule that I would like to share is when we do the cutting of the vegetable, when we used to do the white and brown stock, we didn't really care. We put the end of the onions, we put the leftover foods. This we're going to take care of the vegetable. We're going to cut them smaller than usual because it's going to cook faster. When we have smaller pieces, the temperature will be, the heat will be all over the vegetable and will extract the flavors faster. And the other reason is I want to use the vegetables to be consumed and not to be thrown away. So you always can have that option to put the vegetables aside, and you can have them as a separate meal. So we have stock here. We'll go ahead and put some more. And this is just putting some heat on top, and this is gonna remind me of Bugs Bunny, when they make soup. So let's go ahead and chop everything. This is the Fulcrum Motion. This is one of the first knife skills that we wanted to share with everyone. We talked about this in previous episodes. So we'll add some carrots. Oh, by the way, I never showed you how to cut the onion, right? I don't believe I did. To cut the onion, we're gonna do a slice. We're gonna slice the onion. I'm gonna show you how to slice the onion today. Okay, put this aside. So of course I'm gonna remove the skin, remove the head. We cut it in half. And this way it makes it easier to peel. Yeah, this was easy. Okay. The secret of cutting an onion is really you want to cut the onion with the fewest slices as much as you can. So I'll have a horizontal slice in the onion. You can have one more horizontal and you do the vertical slices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We did 6 slices, and with the Fulcrum Motion, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, maybe it took me 13 slices. You add the onions. You technically add everything, and I'm gonna go ahead and slice the garlic as well. We want to make sure that it looks beautiful to present. You crush the garlic, it will be easier to peel. You have the spices, you can put them in like a tea bag style, you know, like you open, but really they can be, you can pick them up when they are done. Peppercorn. Technically we're done here, so we'll do the slice real quick. The ingredients, we have some celery, and technically we'll go ahead and cut the mushrooms. Now the mushrooms, in culinary school, what you want to do, you want to cut the bottom of the mushroom, remove it, and then do your dice this way. But since we are using every part of the vegetable, we'll go ahead and dice it as well. Okay guys, very simple, as you can see. Not too much calculation. It's just you have to remember the rules. The first rule is you start with cold water. The second rule is the pot itself. You want to make sure it simmers, it doesn't boil. Right now I have the heat all the way high, so I can get the liquids to heat. But the pan also, you want to choose the thinnest and the tallest pan you have. This is not the ideal pan to make stock, but I'm not making a lot of quantities, so I'm using whatever I have. But whatever you have in the kitchen, but you know, the thinner and the taller you got is better. It's the French way of doing things. Tomatoes, of course. We absorbed the acidity from the tomatoes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish up with the topic of stock. We will go ahead and move forward now. We'll go ahead and get into the science of cooking. Now, this is really interesting because it will show you how to take your stock, the one we already made, and filter it out through a system called, I don't know what the system is called, I'm not sure, but the final product is called Consomme. Consomme is really interesting. We're gonna show you after the break, and technically we are done with the stock, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove everything from the table, and we're gonna start when we are come back. Don't go away. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Now, after making the stock for the vegetable stock, I want to show you the color of the stock. You know, we compared the brown stock with the white stock. I want to show you how the vegetable stock look like. You know, it has some color from the tomatoes, and as you can see, a little bit on the, it has a little bit of brown, a little bit dark, a little bit not totally light, not totally white. So you get the point. Now I did transfer this to a plastic container. That's only after I let the stock cool down in the fridge. So these vegetables, what can you do with these vegetables? If you want to strain them out, you can move them aside. You can puree them and make maybe a vegetable bishk, a vegetable cream soup. Use that as a thickening agent. You can put that in your garden, make, you know, the thing that you make, the stuff for your garden. I forgot what it's called. What else you can do with this? You can maybe puree this, and you can mix them with egg and flour and make like some vegetable burger buns for your burgers, right? You know, so there's a lot of application you can do with these vegetables. You can heat the soup with the vegetables, and you know, put more spices and make vegetable soup like this. So you have all of the option. This is vegetable broth. You can call it stock, I guess. So I will go ahead and move to the next topic of consomme. What I am about to present to you right now is something that will check your eye and it will trick your tongue. It is technically a broth or a soup that is so clear that it looks like water. But when you taste it, you will go like, wow, subhanallah, mashallah, it has so much flavor. How is that possible? This is something called consomme. So the science of making consomme is technically taking the impurities from the soup, and we do that by combining eggs with protein, with meat, with other vegetables, and it will use as a filter. And in this case I have ground chicken. You can use ground meat for your beef stock. I'm using ground chicken for my chicken stock, and the secret is to use the best stock. Right here we have the best stock. When you take your best stock, make sure it does not have any of the fats. So we'll go ahead and remove the fats that after we put it in the refrigerator it will develop on top. So we'll go ahead and remove that. We don't want to have any fat with our stock. So after we remove that, we can either mix the ingredients. We have Mirepoix, onion, celery, and carrots. We have the whites of an egg. I have 3 eggs. So I'll go ahead and add them in the pot. It has to be a cold liquid, a cold stock. Because if we have hot stock, what's gonna have? We're gonna have scrambled eggs. We don't want to have scrambled eggs. Now we have some proteins here. I have approximately half a pound. You can either mix everything together and add them, or you can add them one by one. It really does not matter. This is something you probably do once in your lifetime in cooking school, but never again. Now the ground beef or the ground chicken will definitely add more flavor. After that we add our Mirepoix, which is onion, carrots, and celery. And for our eggs, or white eggs, you can just give them a shake a little bit so they can activate. After this we're gonna mix everything, and it's gonna look like a disgusting soup right now. It has all of these ingredients mixed in, you know, the meat and the eggs, and it's really disgusting. So we'll put the heat, and this is where the science, you're gonna see science at work. There are few rules. You don't want to break these rules. Number 1 rule is you do not want to boil it. If you boil it, you're gonna have more mess than you start with. What is a boiling? What is a simmer temperature? Simmer temperature is less than 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe 170, 160, 170, maybe 180, maybe. Now the rule is you wanna mix it, but when it starts to coagulate, you want to leave it alone, right? Put a little bit of acid. Should be good. And this is very important. We mix it once. We want to make sure the eggs or the meat is mixed together in the pot, and you just want to leave it right now. You don't want to mix anything. You don't want to interrupt the filtration process. This will cause the eggs to fall down, and it will make a more mess than you start with. So it's very important to leave it alone. Now put it on low heat, let it come together, let it filter, let it do its thing. However, if you are frustrated with cooking, if you have 10 kids and everybody is yelling when it's done, you have the kids and you have to cook, this is called cooking with love, you know. You just want to cook just to put it on the table, and just, especially in Ramadan, you just want to make sure. This is something you probably will never try in your life, but because it is part of our series of making soups, it is important to start with the stock, the broth, fundamentals and the foundation, and then consomme is part of that foundation. So in the meantime, while our consomme is coming together, let's go ahead and take some time out and talk about the hadith that we mentioned earlier about the Prophet ﷺ. It's a hadith narrated by Abu Dhar that, you know, the Prophet ﷺ said when you make broth, and the translation of the hadith uses the word broth, add water to it so you can give it to your neighbors. Let me quote you the exact hadith. "O Abu Dhar, whenever you prepare broth, put plenty of water in it and give it to your neighbors." This is in Sahih Muslim. So giving, adding liquid to our broth and giving it to our neighbors, in short, will encourage us to know our neighbors, to share with our neighbors. regardless if they're Muslim or non-Muslim, to love our neighbors, to make a bonder or closer community, to work together, to get them to know Islam. And if they are non-Muslims, it's a great way to make da'wah as well. A lot of countries in the world, people are very poor, live under the poverty line, they don't have food stamps and all of these things that people in the West enjoy, especially the poor people. I mean, they will not go hungry, but most throughout the world, a lot of the poor people, they are dying, and it is important to, for someone to get to know their neighbors and their situation. And me personally, if somebody give me some broth or some stock or consomme, I would be happy. It's a lot of delicacy and a lot of work has been going on here, right? So let's put this aside. Let's go ahead and talk about our raft here. As you can see, it is coming together. Let me go ahead and activate my camera on the ceiling. So as you can see, the raft is coming up, and this, guys, we're not gonna throw this away, we're not gonna toss this away. This is really, really, really good stuff, guys. You can add some salt and pepper to it, and you can have it for your suhoor meal. Or if you don't want to have it, you can give it, if you have like a cat or you have a dog in the farm, they will love it, right? So this is really, really good stuff. It's not something you toss away. Islam, we don't encourage the wasteness of food. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. And of course, this is really meat and protein, egg whites, and really it makes you a nice meal, right? I wanted to mention one of the things, the reason I chose the topic of consomme, although we only make this once in our lifetime, probably never again. But I want to mention this because some restaurants or some of the commercial places that make consomme and sell it on a large quantity, until recently, I believe they stopped this, but they used to use blood instead of ground meat. And when you mix blood with egg whites, it uses the same method to clarify all of the impurities. And this blood is actually a cheaper method to do this, and it lower the cost. And if we live in a corporate world, who cares about what's going on? It's all about profits, right? So until recently, in some areas, I know it's been stopped, but you never know. So this is something I want to bring aware of. This awareness of they use blood. And in Islam, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God have forbade Muslims to consume or to eat blood or to use blood in our food. Now, if there was blood from the meat that we slaughtered or if we're hunting, that is a totally separate issue. But the issue of adding blood to our meals, or like in the Asian cuisine, they add duck blood with soup and they eat it raw. We see that in the Asian countries. So this is something that is forbidden for Muslims, and it's in the Quran very clearly. وَحُرِّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الدَّمَ وَالْمَيْتَةَ وَلَحْمِ الْخَنْزِيرِ. Among the things that Allah have forbid us to eat is the blood, the flesh of the swine, and the dead animal that you find on the street. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and show you a sample here of the clarity and the purity. I use a strainer, I use a cheesecloth or a coffee filter. This has to be very delicate, guys. Make sure you go slowly, you go carefully. So you go ahead and filter the stuff out. And what happened in the French cuisine, they add salt, and they will add some, finely cut vegetables with the soup, because it's very clear, it's very transparent. So knife skills is important, of course, taste is important. And this is one of the most flavorful soups that you will ever have in your life. So let me go ahead and show you a sample here. I'll show you with my camera on the ceiling. I don't know if you can see this, but it is very clear, very delicate. You see this, it will trick your eye. You'll think that it is water. You taste it, you go, subhanallah, this tastes amazing, right? We are out of time, unfortunately. So what I want to do is I want to finish up our episode with a hadith from Riyadh al-Salihin. This is from the chapter of the virtues, Kitab al-Fada'il, and this is from the virtues of fasting. This is narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, observe fast on sighting and terminate it on sighting. But if the skies were cloudy, then complete 30 days. This shows us we have to go and observe sighting, and also gives us the okay to use calculations. So either way, we need a Khalifa to decide when to fast and when to stop fast. This will end all of these silly arguments. I do thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.